What's up, Wholesale Nation? We're on today. We got a very special guest with us today, sitting in between us. We got Ricardo Rosales.
That's right.
Straight out of H-Town in with us today. And so Ricardo, I've been knowing Ricardo now for about a year or so?
Yeah.
Year or so. It feels like it's been like 4 or 5 years.
Right.
But I know, Ricardo's been killing it here in the Houston market and actually in multiple markets. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But far as your business and everything, if you want to kind of outline what you've done in the past and kind of bring people up to speed and where you're at now.
Let me tell you a little bit about myself.
Right.
I was a full-time alcoholic by the age of 21.
Wow.
But I was just the weekend alcoholic, okay?
Right.
It's just that my weekends were from Monday through Sunday.
Okay.
So how about that, right? So I was a party animal, man.
Right.
But then I didn't know what to do with my life, and I had the great idea of joining the Navy. I saw it as rehab.
Right.
I'm going to get rehab now. And went to the Navy, did 4 years. From the Navy, I had a bad habit of smoking cigarettes, and I would go to the fan tail of the ship, smoke cigarettes, and I'll see oil rigs, and I was like, I wonder how much money mechanics make out there.
Right.
I was a mechanic in the Navy.
Right.
So 4 years later, I joined the oil field.
Okay.
And that's how I ended up in Houston. I had no family here, nothing.
Right.
All my family's from South Florida. So started working in the oil and gas business, started making good money, worked offshore, started putting money in the bank for the first time in my life.
Right.
And
you're making a lot of money in the oil field.
Yeah, I was doing good. I was multiple six figures. Got to see the world.
Right.
That's where I gained all my weight, because now you're eating good
You
in
eat good on
restaurants, flying first class and all that.
Right. Plus, you're not working out like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning anymore like you were in the Navy.
No.
Yeah.
None of that stuff. So one day I'm like, man, I need to do something with my money. Oh, most of my friends will go out and buy toys.
Right.
They buy boats. They will buy, RVs, things of that nature. And I was like, that's not me.
Right.
I don't want to spend my money that way. So I watched a show called Flip This House.
Okay.
This is 2007, roughly.
Right.
Yeah.
I know the feeling.
And man, I just got hooked up. I was like, man, this guy goes and buys these little houses and makes $30,000-$40,000, and I started getting on the internet trying to find these little houses, right? So, but what happened in 2008 is everything blew up,
We had
and
to crash.
while most people was getting out, I was getting in. Bought my first house, didn't know what I was doing. Sort of understood the 70% rule.
Okay.
70% minus repairs. That's what most of those guys will teach at the time.
Right.
But I bought my first house cash, actually, from a loan. It was a loan, but from my mother-in-law. She gave me the money. I was trying to use other people's money, right?
Right. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right. So I bought the house for $13,000 in Pasadena. This thing was falling apart. It was like leaning on the ground. It was a pyramid beam house, which is at the time, all the gurus will say, don't buy those.
Right.
Well, I went and bought one of those.
Okay.
And he said, watch this.
Yeah, watch
I'm going to prove you wrong.
I'm about to go do it. And sure enough, man, I bought the house. It took me a year to rehab it.
Damn.
The reason why it took me a year to rehab it is because every thug on the neighborhood showed up on that job to contract work. So I would get the AC guy, he'll stole like $2,500 away from me. I would, get the other guy, he stole money. And man, I was just in the, I guess, donation business back then. And the house wouldn't get fixed until I found the right people. And finally, something that I was supposed to be all in at $50,000 back then.
Right.
Buying and rehabbing it. I was probably $15,000 over.
Wow.
So I gave away $15,000. Actually, I was supposed to be all in at 40. Because at the time, a full rehab would be $25,000. So I went over and ended up spending like $60,000 altogether.
Wow. So did you have to go back to your aunt, or how did that?
So
did you borrow enough?
So it was no interest payments, none of that stuff. She just gave me the money, right?
Right.
Put the property on the market for sale, and nobody's buying. Nobody's getting approved.
Oh, man.
And now I got this house sitting on the market for like 3 months.
Right.
But during those 3 months, my realtor will say, Ricardo, we're getting all these, questions about you renting the house, and you don't want to rent it. And I was like, I need to cash out because I need to pay my mother-in-law.
Right.
But then I went and talked to my mother-in-law. I was like, look, this thing is not selling. I'm going to rent it. And she's like, yeah, do it. Give me like half of the rent and we're good to go.
Okay.
So that's kind of like how I did my first deal. From a nightmare, it turned out to be one of my best deals.
Okay.
We kept it for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up selling it for $100,000.
Right. So the market played in your favor.
It was playing in my favor.
Right.
And the cash flow on those 4 years was almost $40,000.
Right.
Wow.
So I turned 60,000 into 150 in a matter of 4 years, which is like unreal.
Right.
But while I rented this property, I went and bought more crack houses.
Okay.
So I started buying all these houses in 77033. I apologize for that. Atlanta calls come in. Let me see that. 77033. And I became a landlord by default because none of my houses were selling.
Okay.
Now I knew how to use hard money now.
Right. But your plan was to rehab them and then put them back on the market and sell them. But you just, but that's just what happened.
Right. That's just what happened. I became a landlord by default because I couldn't get rid of them. Now we flipped them like if we were going to sell them. So granite countertops, good laminate flooring, we used to have like a beige color on the walls and all that. So, and we design a process. It's like, that's the only color we're going to use for the walls. That's the only granite we're going to use on the kitchen. Right. These are the cabinets we're installing. That way, we wouldn't have to think too much about it.
Right.
So, long story short, in 2012, fast forward 4 years later, I had like 47 houses all rented.
Okay.
And I had another run-in with another contractor that actually had rehab 10 houses for me. And he had earned my trust. And he asked me for an advance on 3 new projects we were working on. I gave him $50,000 and I never saw him again.
Oof. Okay.
So
what have you learned from that, from the first time you were giving out money to now?
Oh, I don't give money now. None. Like now the way we do rehabs, basically we just negotiate labor and we provide all the materials.
Gotcha. So
we're actually one of the top 5 buyers in Houston on materials at Home Depot. And Home Depot is not my sponsor, by the way.
Right.
But they told me that. It's like,
right.
So,
that's HomeDepot.com.
Here's a break for a Home Depot commercial.
Right. So Home Depot, you have to send me a check. So we, I learned a lot about contracting now and how to do contracts for these, contractors and all that.
Right.
I don't think there's really a bulletproof way to do it with contractors. I think that's the hardest thing of this business.
Right.
Is managing contractors, is not really getting the deal or getting the money. And now we're, so we were flipping at a scale. Right. We started doing 8 rehabs at the same time. And then we jumped from 8 to like 16. And from 16, I think the most we've had is 33 or 34. Right. But we wanted to go bigger. And you can't, it's just too much. Right. Too many moving targets, too many moving parts.
Too much cash out.
We became, too much cash out of pocket sometimes. Although we did most of it with private money and some hard money at the beginning. We learned how to be wholesalers by default or by our own demand. Okay. And at the beginning, I wanted nothing to do with wholesaling.
Most flippers. That's what most flippers say, right?
And I would be like, "You're a wholesaler?" Ooh,
yeah.
It's like,
4-letter word.
Yeah. You hadn't learned how to flip yet.
Right.
Maybe one day you'll grow up.
And I would see these wholesalers; they'll be happy when they saw me a house, and I was happy to buy houses from them. Right.
You just didn't want to be that guy.
I didn't want to be a wholesaler. And it's maybe because the guy was always on flip-flops,
Right. Right. So why would you decide to wholesale in your business then during this time frame?
So we decided to go wholesaling, or it wasn't wholesaling because I wasn't wholesaling. I was just buying. Right. But I decided to learn what the wholesalers did in order for me to get my own properties.
Okay. So you wanted to be able to market straight to the seller versus you were buying all your properties from realtors and from wholesalers before.
And actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because for the first 4 or 5 years, I did buy from wholesalers, but most of my properties came from the MLS. Right. I developed a search on our MLS system here. By the way, I'm not a realtor or anything like that. I just go on HAR and say, I want to find houses for $50 a square foot or less. And they all pop up. Right. And then I start cherry picking, but you have to be in front of the computer for a long time. Right. That's how we'll get my houses.
Mhm.
So I'll start just making offers on most of the REOs.
Mhm.
That's how we were buying all our houses. And then guys like yourself and myself now will come in and say, hey, Ricardo, I got this property under contract. These are the numbers. I was like, is that 70% minus repairs? Is the first thing I looked at.
Right.
Yeah, it's actually, this one is actually at 65 or 60. I was like, it's mine.
Right.
I didn't care where it was. I didn't care, I will make sure I lock it up. And then I'll go do all that due diligence on this is what it rents for. Maybe this is the real ARV. Now, if the ARV wasn't there, then I will get out of the contract. That's the only thing I would, ask the wholesaler. So we bought a lot of houses like that. What happened was we needed to start doing volume. Now, all this time, I'm employed.
Right.
So I was a corporate guy.
Right.
Got to wear the suit, 8 to 5, although I was a global business unit manager.
Right.
I had to travel all over the world. So I lived out of a suitcase pretty much.
Okay.
And airplanes and all that, right? So I developed a system to where I could travel, but my contractors will take care of houses. I wanted to be a landlord. That's my deal. I wanted to be the buy and hold guy, get rich in 30 years, get a little bit of cash flow, supplement my income. So maybe I could quit my job.
Right.
What happened was in 2015, I got laid off. And
so things change.
And the funny part is I had sold a lot of my rentals. So I had sold my cash flow.
Right.
I was flipping some houses and they were all out of budget at the time.
Right.
For various reasons. The skeletons hiding behind the walls and all that. And that's when I talked to my business partner, Dennis. I was like, man, I need to scale this like now because my income is gone. I sure don't want to go back to corporate. Because one of the things I did was when I got on my car and I drove home, I remember I got on the West Park Tollway and I said, I will never be in this position ever in my entire life again.
Right.
That's it. I didn't look for jobs.
Right.
I did get calls from competitors saying, hey, do you want to come come work for us? We'll give you a fancy title, VP of this or that. I was like, look, man, thank you so much. I appreciate you, but I'm going to go for real estate.
Right.
Because real estate is going to give me the freedom that I'm looking for. I might not make as much money as I am on a paycheck right now.
Right.
But I'm going to own my time. And to me, that's
where the freedom comes in.
That's the freedom.
Right.
And my wife was 6 months pregnant. And when I get home, she was having contractions and I mean, it was very stressful on her, not on me.
So how did she take this? So you got a wife at home, 6 months pregnant. You just left your job and say, you know what? I'm not going back. Yep. Right. I'm just not going to do it.
I'm not even going to look for one.
Right. So how was that conversation?
I was like, I got it. And she's like, you got what? I was like, you don't have to worry about anything. I'm going to make it work. I don't know how.
Right.
But I will make it work.
Right.
And the first thing I did was I started calling my circle of influence, all my friends.
Okay.
Right. And now you know who your friends are and who's not your friend anymore. Right.
Right.
On my case, most of them were my real friends. And they said, Ricardo, anything you need, we're going to back you up. We're going to support you.
Right.
So if it is money, if it is, going to houses and whatever, we want to work with you.
Right.
And I was like, man, this is pretty cool. Because now I got a bunch of friends that are backing me up. I was their leader because I was showing them how to flip houses.
Right.
But now that they saw me, I was like, man, this guy's going to do this full time. We definitely want to be attached to him now.
Right.
And that helped me have the confidence and I don't think it's the confidence. It's the peace of mind that, you know what, I got guys that I can fall back on.
Right.
And we formed a couple of companies with all these guys to where we bought a bunch of houses.
Okay.
But now we had a problem. We had a bunch of people qualified because all these guys are employed.
Right.
They got good income. They got good money. But I can't find enough houses.
Okay.
And I need to get these houses so I can pay bills. Now, the way I was making money was from the general contracting portion because I became a general contractor by default.
Okay.
Once that guy took the $50,000 away from me, I said no more.
Right.
I am the contractor. I will pull permits. I will do this. I will do that. So my agreement with them was like, look, if the rehab is, I don't know, $55,000, it's going to cost $60,000 now.
Right.
My $5,000 for my general contracting labor, and I'll make sure that everything goes. And they're like, yeah, no problems.
Right.
So it was pre-disclosed on how much a fee we were going to tag on. but it wasn't an assignment fee.
Right.
So it was more like a general contracting fee.
Mm-hmm.
And we grew to a bunch of houses. We went and bought, I don't know, I've done now, since 2005, I've probably done over 250 or 300 houses now.
Right.
I still got like 20 that I'm getting, finishing. But now I needed to learn how to wholesale.
Right.
Or how to find the property.
Right.
And I remember talking to Dennis, he's into bigger pockets and all that. And I was like, Dennis, we got to find all these houses. He's like, well, I read in a blog that if you send yellow letters and postcards, people call you to sell your houses. And I just busted out laughing. I was like,
funny.
That doesn't work.
You can do what?
Right.
Send a letter? And then I.
So you never decided to ask a wholesaler, like, hey, how are you finding your properties, things like that?
No,
right?
A guy that didn't know how to do it told me, let's go in bigger pockets, because I read somewhere that you can do these mailers.
Right.
But then I started remembering saying, oh yeah, I remember getting these cards, because when I was a landlord, I was being targeted.
Mm-hmm.
I just never paid attention to them because it wasn't in me to sell them at the time. Right. I would just throw them away. Mm-hmm. So he wants to buy my house. Okay, this is a scam. That's the way I thought. This is a scam. I threw it away. Yeah. But when he tells me that, I was like, what do we have to lose, man? And how much do we need to send them mail? Like, we had no idea that we had to come up with a seasonable or, a $400 or $1,000 budget, whatever. Right. He's like, I don't know. And he's like, where do you want to get houses? And I was like, at that time I was buying a lot in Brazoria, Brazoria County. And I said, let's go to these little towns in Brazoria where the cash flow is higher because they're close to the plants.
Right. Right.
And he's like, okay. So he went and got on one of these sites where you get a list.
Like List Source or
I think it was
like
List Source.
Yeah.
And he bought a list and he's like, I got a 2,000 address list, man. We're ready. And I was like,
on fire.
And I was like, but I was very, very tight on the budget at the time because I was like, man, every penny counts. I was like, no, man, let's mail to half of the people. Let's not go that big right now. We don't know what we're doing.
Right.
And we went and put an order on one of these sites where they sell the letters. And I remember we put our cell phones in it. Like we didn't know about call rail or Google number or anything like that. And out of the first mail out, we get 2 houses and we're like, oh, this is nice.
Right.
What happened if we sent 2,000?
And what happens if we send more? But I'm never thinking I want to wholesale. I'm thinking I can go buy a lot.
You want to find these houses and you be and rehab them.
Right. Rehab them and rent them or sell them. Right. Whichever of the two. Right.
Right.
So we did that 2015, 2016. That's what we focused on.
Right.
Just acquiring a lot of houses, a lot of houses. And then the tax day flood happened. Mm-hmm. And we started getting more houses. But now we couldn't buy them all because I didn't have enough people to rehab these houses.
Right.
And I'm like, Dennis, we're going to have to learn how to wholesale these things now to other people that are buying houses.
Right.
And that's how we got into wholesaling.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we understand wholesaling, we want nothing to do with flipping anymore.
Right. So you fell backwards into it because you couldn't find contracts because all the contractors were busy working on flood houses.
And in my point of view, scaling a flipping business to where you're flipping 100 houses at the same time is almost impossible.
Right.
It's too many moving parts. You need too many project managers, too many construction superintendents. Mm-hmm. When you wholesale, that's not the case.
Right.
You need a lead manager. You need things of that nature, but your infrastructure is not as heavy on people.
Right.
And your liability is pretty much zero.
Right. In most cases, like $10 and your namesake.
$10.
Yeah, your product cycle is just a lot shorter.
Exactly.
You're in for 30 days, not 6 months.
Yeah. Well, and now we're finding out that a lot of these houses we have them contracted for 90 days, 120 days, because they all come with skeletons in the closet, right?
Yeah.
But that's okay because I know what I got on the pipeline.
Right.
That money's coming 3 months from now, but it's coming.
Right.
I gotta fill up for money to come in on the next 30 days.
Versus a flip, it's just like selling a retail property, right? It may come, it may be 200,000, but you could fall short on that deal that you thought was going to sell for 200,000. Right. Right. So it's kind of a it's kind of a wishing game there, right?
So one thing that happened to us during Harvey, we had 16 flips at the same time.
Okay.
We had 45 employees on our general contracting company, which we managed directly. Guess what happened?
They saw that money.
They all left.
Yeah, they went to go work for other people or do their own thing, actually.
Now I had roughly $2 to $3 million worth of loans that at the beginning it wasn't hurting us that bad, but after 6 months, you're like, oh my God, when is this thing gonna stop?
Right.
So that forced us into getting new people that were more expensive.
Right.
Now we're in chaos mode because like which houses were, because a lot of these houses were halfway, some houses were almost done, and some houses we hadn't even touched.
Right.
So we're like, okay, we need to, number one, stop the bleeding. Number two, get income a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're really going to scale this wholesaling business.
Right.
And that's how we're going in the process of going over to full-time wholesalers now.
Right.
And another thing that we did is we will never be in one city only.
Right.
We'll be in different markets. So because if another Harvey happens here, or a hurricane, whatever happens in Tampa, or what, we just shut down the lights there for a little bit,
right,
until everything goes back to normal, and we start contracting again. But if you're flipping, you're really at the mercy of whatever that market dictates for.
So, Ricardo, your business went from construction and contractor heavy.
Yes.
After Harvey, I mean, you got your toe wet a little bit after the tax day flood, you said, right? And then the Harvey flood came, pushed you out of rehabbing.
And by the way, we did have rentals that flooded as well. So I have 5 rental houses that flooded. And now I had to, whatever resources I had left on those rehabs, I had to move them to the rentals. That way I can get the tenants back in.
Right. Right. So what does your business look like now? It went from being contractor heavy to what?
So right now, I guess we're in transition because we had a lot of employees on the contracting side. Now we have probably 10 out of 45.
Okay.
But I'm getting more subs. I'm subbing out a few ones that we built a good relationship with. They're getting, they get paid when they finish, pretty much. So that's how we're solving that challenge. But at the same time, because our cash flow got completely constricted, we're heavily increasing our wholesaling because that's how we're able to pay bills.
Right.
So
let's talk about your wholesale business. So,
I
know that you also had, a printing company that kind of helps you out with that also. But so what does your marketing look like now that you've learned how to market? What does that look like in your wholesale business?
So I believe all the fishing hooks are good.
Right.
You got direct mailing, you got cold calling, you got text messaging, bandit signs.
Right.
I've tried bandit signs. I've got houses through bandit signs. I don't care for it. Me, I personally don't want to be involved. Dennis feels the same way. He does not like talking to the police when we get the calls.
Bandit signs is one of those things where it's either like you either love them or you hate them.
Yeah.
Like there's no middle ground. That's what I found with most people.
When you get a house on the contract from a bandit sign, it's like you stroke gold.
Right.
Because those were quick calls, right? You put the bandit sign on a Friday and probably on Saturday you're getting the call and you're like, yeah, man, I got it. But when you put the bandit sign and on Monday is the police calling, you're like, oh man, and I got another, 1,000 bandit signs out there, or 500, however many.
And they're like $500 a sign if you don't move them. Yeah.
Right. So we decided we didn't want to go that route.
Right.
We've done billboards.
Let me jump in here real quick. If you are thinking about doing bandit signs, do not put your phone number. Right. So you want to use a Google Voice number.
So talking about making mistakes, we put our phone number, our website.
Oh man.
Right.
Right.
Everything that you're not
these are the things to not do with bandit signs.
Yeah.
So just remember those.
Write that down.
Write that one down. At least you did it.
Google Voice number used nowhere else.
Yeah, just
make
sure
websites,
they can't trace you down.
Well, one of the things we did with the bandit signs, when we started getting the calls from the police,
right?
I just said, I'm so sorry. I'm new at this. I have no idea what I'm doing. And they're like, you need to go remove them like
it wasn't
fast. Me. And guess what? I will go remove them. I got on my car. It was funny because I bought we were using the staplers and we were stapling high to where nobody can pull them down. And I had to go grab like a grabber thing and pull him off. And me and Dennis were running around Houston. And at the time I had a little Mercedes. And it's kind of funny because you see 2 guys on a Mercedes-Benz pulling bandit signs out. So
maybe they actually do have cash.
And we have fun, you know. But we said, you know what, we're not gonna do this anymore. We'd rather put mailers.
Right.
And that's how we focus. We said instead of putting bandit signs, we're gonna do mailers. We noticed after Harvey the mailer response rate went completely down and drastic.
Yeah.
I think at the time we were sending 80,000 mailers a month.
Right.
which was roughly 40 grand a month worth of marketing, which is a lot of money.
Right.
And we weren't getting the houses.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're getting choked, and we're like, ooh, so our flips are completely screwed up. And
now your marketing's not
my
working.
marketing is not working. What to do, right?
Right.
So we started trying everything else. Drop text, a little bit of cold calling. And what we realized is that we planted those seeds for a long time. Mm-hmm. And now people are calling.
Right.
From those letters we sent a year
from
ago.
direct mail. And that's what's a lot different from direct mail. And a lot of people don't realize, like, when you're cold calling, you get that person now, but then they forget about you, right? Mm-hmm. The moment they hang up with you. It's not like they put it on a card and say, hey, I'm going to call this guy back. But we've seen deals, and a few of our deals are from deals that have been like,
I think we've got one on the whiteboard now that was like 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah. They just held on to the card,
don't
right?
you love those? Because you're like...
You're the only one.
Yeah.
That one, I remember sending that postcard 2 years ago.
Right.
And now it's paying you however much money now, right?
Right. So you would say right now postcards would be your...
Yeah, actually postcards is 90% of my deals.
Right.
Or actually, I want to say 90. It's about 70% of our deals.
Right.
We're still heavy on postcards.
Right.
We will continue to do them. Mm-hmm. You just got to reinvent them every month.
Right.
But we're also getting a lot of JVs now.
Okay.
That people that are doing deals and they don't know how to digest a certain property because it's a Frankenstein or whatever. It's complicated. They call us and we'll go help them out and we'll split it.
Right.
It will help them sell the property as well.
Right.
We're also getting a lot of text messages, responses. Mm-hmm. But those sellers, most of them are pretty house business, right? So it's a complete different business from the flipper that your end buyer normally. So we're doing a lot of net listings and things of that nature. Right. But that's what it looks like right now. So 70% direct mailing, a little bit of JV, and a little bit of cold calling and the drop text.
Okay. So Ricardo, we're running low on time, but I know that you've been around for a while. Mm-hmm. You've been at the top, you've been at the bottom. I mean, you've never hesitated to share your story with anybody that you meet, and it's one of extremes. I wish we had more time, but let's give some advice to the new wholesaler in his first 90 days. What would you tell that person?
Take action, but get a list, print it, and send it. That's it. Or if it's mailers, if you're cold calling, get on the phone.
Right.
8 hours a day, not 3 hours. It's not going to produce a deal.
So you mean you can't call 100 people and expect a deal?
No. Right. You need to call about 1,000 to 3,000 people. That's where your deal is.
You put 100 bandit signs out, is your phone going to melt?
It will ring a little bit. You see, he said mail, but
it's going to ring a little bit.
It will ring a little bit, but if you go for 500 bandit signs, most likely you're going to get a deal.
Right.
If you double it up, now the thing is you're going to have to subcontract to some people because putting about 1,000 or 500 bandit signs, that's a lot of work.
Right. Yeah, I put out 40 one night and I felt like I put out like 1,000.
You put 1,000.
Right.
So I would just say take action. Whatever list you're working, just go do it. Don't get hooked up on your business card. Don't get hooked up on the website. Don't get hooked up on, I got to have my LLC ready. Mm-hmm. I didn't have any of those things when I started.
Right.
I just wanted houses.
Right.
I had all of those things and they didn't put any money in my pocket.
They don't put money in your pocket. So one thing I realized is this is my thinking process. If I find a deal, money will come. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it'll come because somebody will loan me the money to rehab it or because another guy is going to buy it.
Right. So I didn't buy her.
But the money will show up. Mm-hmm. But with no deal, there's no money to collect.
Right. And you don't have the experience for people to even trust you if you're saying, hey, you know what, I'm gonna do there's nothing wrong with reverse wholesaling. We do it now. Mm-hmm. But when you're in the beginning stages and you're new, you don't even have the experience or people don't trust you yet. Right. And you don't have deals. So why are they listening to you that you're going to actually bring them a deal?
That is correct. I see a lot of people like at some of these networking events where they go asking for private money. Right. Mm-hmm. And they come to me because they know I got a lot of private lenders. And they go, Ricardo, I'm looking for a private money lender, so I can do my flip. And I said, okay, what's the address? Well, I don't have an address. I was like,
working a little backwards there.
So hold on. Your private money guy will show up or your hard money lender. Don't be afraid of working with hard money lenders either because they're actually getting better rates than private money nowadays.
Right.
They're just going to go check your credit, make sure you're paying your bills, that kind of thing. But go get a house and then go get the money. Yeah. It's not having the money first and then the property. That's most human beings are wired for the safety, right?
Right.
So how do I get safety? Oh, I got to have the money in the bank ready to go.
Right.
No.
And then they never do anything
I'm
with
going to go spend the money before I get it.
Right.
So I go make commitments. I said, ma'am, sir, I'm going to buy your property. We need to be at these numbers, blah, blah, blah. You sign up all. This is if you want to flip, guys, or be a landlord. Now, if you just want to wholesale, you just need the house. That's it. You don't need money. You just need buyers.
Right.
So,
and it's the same thing with wholesaling, right? You go find a house.
That's it.
You get it at the right price. The money will come to you. Your buyer will come to you.
And if you're a brand new wholesaler, you need to be at every networking event there is in the city.
Right.
I know you do it.
Right.
I do it. So if we do it, how come you're not?
Right.
So that's my tip. Go to the networking events. This is not a get rich scheme, okay? Like, I'm going to go be wholesaling 100 houses in 2 months. It possibly could happen. Mm-hmm. If it happens to you, good for you. But, man, just go do that one deal a month, and then you start scaling from there.
All right, good deal. And I know that you also you have a meetup here in the Houston area, and also you have a podcast. So how do people reach out to you?
RenovatingRichesRadio.com. If you're watching this podcast, by the way, make sure you share this podcast with your mama, with your grandpa, with everybody that you know. Hit share, like, and subscribe. Find them on YouTube, Facebook, everywhere else. They have a great Facebook group that I'm a part of. And, man, I pick so many nuggets from other people when I'm in the group. And, by the way, I've been doing this for quite a while, but I don't know it all.
Right.
You know, so that's why we do these kind of things, to, you know, empower other people to take their business to the next level. And don't be afraid to ask. Make sure you find their group on Facebook and the YouTube page. Our YouTube page is Renovating Riches Radio. Now, we're not as much as wholesaling. We're more entrepreneurial. Like, we talk about all kinds of stuff. Like, we interview a chef. You know, people might want to know what setting up a kitchen looks like or whatever. But RenovatingRichesRadio.com. We have an event in Katy and one in Spring. Okay. Make sure you find them on Facebook as well. The Event in Katy. That's the name. Yep. It's simple. And The Event in Spring. So I'll see you there. All right. Hit me up. All right. And so Ricardo already did a good job of introing and outroing exactly how to reach us. It's in my DNA. It's already in his DNA. So that's if you're on YouTube, that's the Wholesale Nation. You can also go to Wholesale Nation on our Facebook group, and there's a few questions that you'll fill out, and from there we'll accept you into the group. And like you said, we have helpful information on there to be able to help you with your wholesale business. And then also we have our monthly meetup. Our monthly meetup is on the first Monday of each month. It's at the Hilton Garden Inn on the north side of Houston. Which if you're in wholesaling and you don't go to their meetup, you're not in wholesaling. I appreciate it. So we give it all away. And how much does it cost? Oh, zero. They actually give you a couple of beers for free. So there you go. I don't know. Yeah, you get to drink. Hard to pass that on. You need to rethink this. You get to drink and you get to eat. So you definitely want to be there. So if you hadn't, also you can follow me on Instagram, Undrea King on Instagram, and you can follow Andy at _AndySpeed_. All right. And again, Ricardo, we want to thank you for taking the time to come out and spending with us. And we appreciate your friendship and for helping us with our business also. And my pleasure, man. I'm pretty sure we're going to work on a lot of things together, man. Okay. So, all right. Well, look forward to it. All right, guys. Well, that's a wrap. We want to thank everyone for listening today. All right. We appreciate it. Y'all come back now. Yeah?